So in order to start from where we ended last time, that is genre analysis, let's have a very quick recap as what we were doing. So we started with the four pillars of English for specific purposes. The first pillar we did in a lot of details was needs analysis, identifying the needs. The second one that we are still doing, and it's in the process, is about deciding learning objectives and how to develop those learning objectives. Okay, which comes after needs analysis. And after that, we will be doing material and methods for ESP. And then finally, the last pillar would be evaluating um, these materials, courses, programs, learners, instructors, all of that. A detailed evaluation will be the last pillar that we would be discussing in this course of English for specific purposes. So we started with developing objectives for English for specific purposes, and as we did in needs analysis, there were several sub-analysis to needs analysis. Similarly, here in developing objectives for ESP, we need to do some analysis. Okay, we are done with the register analysis, and we are done with rhetorical oblique discourse analysis. We talked about top-down and bottom-up approaches as far as language forms and functions are concerned, right? So today we are going to move towards the third kind of analysis that can help us in developing objectives for ESP. I hope the screen is also shared, and we would start with genre analysis. Genre analysis is a subject that you are studying, so understanding genre analysis wouldn't be very difficult. So the first thing is that genre analysis is a mix of register analysis and rhetorical or discourse analysis. Okay, so it takes or it integrates both bottom-up approach and the top-down perspectives from both of them, right? A few of the terms that we need to concentrate, and that would be a part of genre analysis, is the discourse community, okay, communicative events, and then um, what are the purposes of this discourse community. This is how John Swales defines it. The definition is in your book, and it can be easily understood. But what we need to uh, notice and remember when we are talking about genre analysis are some of the terms and some of the concepts, for instance, of discourse community, for instance, shared goals, purposes, linguistic understanding, right? So, uh, again, first of all, you need to remember that it integrates both kinds of approaches and both kinds of analysis. Okay, the register analysis and the rhetorical or discourse analysis, and you know that rhetorical analysis is a top-down approach, whereas the register analysis is a bottom-up approach. And we determine the approach on the basis of language forms and language functions that I already clarified in my previous class. Now, as far as the genre analysis is concerned, in my initial classes, I told you that genre is defined as a product. Okay, now what kind of a product is it? How does it come into existence? That we need to know. Basically, genre comprises a class of communicative events. Okay, and the members which share this set of communicative purposes. Now, these purposes are recognized by the members of what discourse community, and these purposes have to be similar. The members of the discourse community should share certain goals. They should similar purposes, and they should each other language in terms of registers and in terms of discourse and in terms of rhetoric. Okay. I hope the concept of genre analysis is clearer. Now, what is important here is to learn how genre analysis may help us in developing the course objectives, right? So, genre analysis basically facilitates a formulation of course and program objectives by ensuring that learners recognize and utilize genre features in their language output. And this happens immediately because, they are applied right in their workplaces. They will learn uh, the genre, right? Genre analysis is basically done by ESP, people who are developing the course, first thing first. Now, the findings of any of the genre analysis, what might be the features of a particular genre that need to be taught to the students. So those should be part of the objectives, and those should be necessarily taught to the students of ESP. And when uh, when the findings of genre analysis become part of objectives and they are reflected in the course, then these features of any of the genre is you know these features can be applied actually at the workplaces. And what are those workplaces that we did in situational analysis while we were doing needs analysis? For instance, how are these applied in workplace context? So there is an immediate utilization, for instance, of business letters, report speeches, and other job-related language outputs. Okay. And as far as the academic uh, EAP is concerned, English for academic purposes, it can improve reading and writing of research articles. It enables the students to write down proposals for grants, or it may enable the students to give better presentation, right? So it really depends what genre is needed and for what genre you are preparing ESP. So it can be, immediately put to practice also in academic context as well as in professional context. Okay. Now, moreover, what do we do with this and how is it different from register analysis? Now, when we say that, it is different from register analysis in terms of its uh, being descriptive. So that means that register analysis is not descriptive. And if we talk in terms of quantifying or numbering or statistical analysis, um, register analysis, if you remember, is about counting, is about numbers, is about frequencies of words that are more prevalent in certain texts than in others. If you remember that, I don't know how far do you remember the previous lectures, but what I'm trying to tell you is that genre analysis is beyond static analysis of written and spoken text. Okay. So it keeps on changing also. There is evolution of genres over time, and then there can be blending of the genres. Okay. So genre analysis is very much contextual also, and insights on genre creation and communication facilitation. And we have already done the examples of business writing, report writing, and presentation. All of this comes in genre. Okay. Okay. Now, how is it applied in classroom instructions? All of the analysis. Now, in English for academic purposes, classrooms, this analysis gives instructor insight from rhetorical analysis of specific logical connectors. We have done this in rhetorical analysis. And in occupational classrooms, we just did the example again. This can increase usage of modal verbs among telephone operators. This is just an example. As we, for genre analysis, we did an example of business writing, business communication, or business correspondence. Similarly, this is just an example from other analysis, rhetorical analysis. It can be used for, uh, teaching and training telephone operators how to be more polite, how to use modal verbs, and how to converse with their clients and customers whenever they are talking to them on the call. Okay, and this also, can be part of the learning objectives, how to develop a course that uh, has linguistic features that might be necessary for uh, polite and respectful customer interaction. So these are just examples, okay, for different kinds of analysis. As rhetorical analysis is about looking for persuasive language, okay, words that might be more persuasive in a particular field or in a particular discipline. So when we teach them, and as the example is given of telephone operators or call center, uh, people who are working in call centers and are interacting with the customers or their clients, they need to be very polite in their customer interaction. So they need to be taught about the use of modal verbs and how to be respectful in these interactions. Okay. This is one of the examples for rhetorical analysis, and for genre analysis. We just talked about business write-ups. Okay, how do you write while you are uh, having a business correspondence? Okay, so before moving to the learning theories, I just want to ask you if things are clear. Just raise your hands. Do you comprehend what we are talking about and what we are doing right now? Are we on the same page before we move towards learning theories and metacognitive skills? Okay, Mahin understands it. You can ask me questions also. It's okay if the session is on recording. No problem. Your questions would be added as well. Okay, Seher George says this is clear to her. If anyone is with a question, you can use the chat box here. You can use your mics also, and you can use the chat box. Please let me know if this is clear so that we can move to the next topic, which is about the theories. We're done with the analysis, guys. Okay, Tayyaba, I hope she has understood. That's why she's raising her hand. What about the rest of you? Are you there? Gulmina and Khadija Shakur says it's clear to her. Kehkashan, Nasreen, Nida, Noreen. Okay. Sarosh, Sumaya. Well, guys, no questions here, so you can even open your mics. Okay, you can unmute them. You can ask questions if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can move forward with the learning skills. Okay, great. And let's talk about learning theories. Now, learning theories. Okay, I would name some of the learning theories. You might have come across them in your psycholinguistics class, or maybe referred to those theories in some other linguistic class. These are the very basic and initial theories in linguistics. Mostly it's a part of psycholinguistics. We also teach them in second language acquisitions. But I hope you might have idea of these. Now, why are we doing the theories? What are these theories? These theories are behaviorism, mentalism, cognitivism, constructivism. All of these are called as theories or models, learning models. Now, why is it important to learn about these theories, and how do we connect it to developing learning objectives. It is because, um, take help from the learning theories, in order to develop such objectives that may help students. Okay. For instance, if we choose behaviorist approach, okay, the earlier theories are the behaviorist models, and then cognitive, and the latest one is affective, where the emotions and the feelings of the students are taken into consideration during classrooms and teaching, because effective taking up effective models make the teaching more effective. Okay. Now, A effect and E effect, I hope you can differentiate between the two, and only then you will understand what I'm talking about. Effective, following effective models of learning makes the learning effective. E wala effective. This is effective, that is effective. Okay, we'll come to that also. Now, why is it important why are we talking about theories for developing learners' objectives for ESP? Now, when we are taking this behaviorist model, which was developed by Pavlov, and some of the terms that we use here is stimulus, response, reinforcement, reward, punishment, consequences. All of these terms are related to the behaviorist model. And basically, behaviorist model is about habit formation. And this habit formation model was given by Pavlov and Skinner uh, while they experimented on animals, how the habits are formed and reinforced, or continued or discontinued through reward and punishment, repetition, and perhaps the experiment was on the dogs, right? So, anyone who favors or who thinks that, behaviors model really works well, so they're going to develop some objectives where um, they would put some of the course material for memorization. Um, they will teach through memorization. They will develop certain drills, certain exercises where there is a lot of repetition. For kids, not kids, ESP is not for the kids. I mean, the professionals, they are going to do certain drills in order to memorize maybe vocabulary or the structures or the rules, and there would be a lot of repetition to reinforce whatever is being taught to them. Okay, the errors would be corrected, and they will be rewarded for not doing the errors, and they will have consequences if they have errors in their language. So basically, language will be dealt as a matter of habit formation for whosoever, takes up behaviors model in order to develop a course for ESP. Okay. Then we have mentalist model of Chomsky as well, which tells you, that stimulus response is for the animals, but there is something like which is called as mind when it comes to human. Every stimulus crosses the mind of the human before it reacts or it responds. Okay, so stimulus and response is just not this much direct, or stimulus response is not as it is in the animals, because humans have brains and humans have mind. Every information first crosses, or every stimulus, or every, whatever information they get from the environment, it crosses their mind, and then accordingly, after the thought process goes on, they respond. Okay. So behaviorist model and behaviorist theories are not very popular now, But still, you must have seen in many of the classrooms. I'm not specifically talking about ESP, but I'm just generally talking about behaviorism as a very popular, still a very popular method in the country, in our country, where students are encouraged to memorize. They are rewarded when they are uh, able to recall everything exactly as they are told to. There are drills to reinforce memorization. A lot of repetition is done to achieve the same, and errors are corrected by the teacher. And if there are errors, the marks are deducted, and all of that. What I'm trying to tell you is, behaviorism is very of if I would tell you it's of 19th century, late 19th century, but it is still in practice, or methods based on behaviorism are still practiced in many schools and colleges. I mean, in the educational system of Pakistan, right? So, how do we connect this to developing learning objectives? Because anyone who wants to work with behaviorist model will make objectives to ensure these there that there should be memorization, there should be repetition, reinforcement, and error correction. This is how uh, behaviorist models are used. Then comes the cognitivist model. Now, cognitivist model are higher order thinking, meta skills, metacognitive skills that we talked about. Okay, so in this cognitivist model, we focus on thinking, higher order skills, thinking, problem solving, concept forming. Okay, and then from cognitivist model, we move to constructivist model also, which emphasize meaning creation and meaning acquisition, awareness raising, noticing learning strategies, and there is highest learning is about getting knowledge implicitly, implicit knowledge or the explicit knowledge. What is the difference? What is implicit knowledge? Explicit knowledge we know, whatever I'm telling you is all the explicit things that I'm telling you. But what is implicit knowledge? Could you just go to the chat box? Let me mark the question. Let me ask the question in the chat box. Okay, so can we chat this? What is implicit knowledge? Okay. Okay, guys, I hope I'm still audible. Okay, can we go to the chat? Guys, I'm still waiting for your answer. Otherwise, we can move forward. Am I audible? Is there any problem with the connectivity? Mahin, could you speak for the other ones also? Is there any problem in the connectivity or my
No, ma'am.
voice?
No, you're audible. Clearly audible.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So, did you get my question in the chat?
Ma'am, the chat option is not visible.
Isn't visible in your Teams?
Yes, on the screen it's not visible. There's no chat option given.
Just next to the raise option, hand raise option. Do you have that option of hand raising?
Uh, there's an option for sending reaction, but not for chat. Other girls also saying that they don't have the option visible on their screens.
Okay. Okay. Otherwise, it was visible previously while we were having the lectures. Anyway, guys, I would like you to open your books to page number 84. And here is a figure 5.1, right? But before that, before going on to this figure, I would like to tell you about this effective model, which is the most modern model to follow. Now, what is effective model? Effective model of learning is about effective processes where the learner's feeling will have a dramatic impact on the success or failure of learners. Okay. Otherwise, in behaviorism, in mentalism, even cognitivism, there is no mention of the feelings of learners, but the modern methods or the models of learning tells us that, you know, uh, what kind of feeling should be taken care of. Motivation, for instance, is a feeling. Okay, attitude is a feeling, and anxiety is a feeling, right? So, so it needs to be, taken care of because in order to uh, learn better, it is important to lower the anxiety of the students, to increase their motivation. And this is anxiety and learning are inversely proportional. Reducing anxiety, more learning. Increasing anxiety, less learning. Or when the anxiety is more in the class, learning would be less. And motivation and learning are directly proportional. More motivation, more learning. Less motivation, less learning. So these are some of the things that later on it was found that these should be taken care of. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do is to move to your book, and there is a figure 5.1, right? And it talks about behavior, it talks about cognition, I've already told you, and it talks about affect, A, affect with an A. Okay. So it summarizes all what we have done. And this figure 5.1, this is on page number 83. And this is a model of language learning, right? You can have a look at it later on or right now. This is your cognitive model, okay? This is your affective model. There is a short-term memory, the working memory, and then there is a long-term memory, and that's not really important. Now, so um, from the very beginning of uh, ESP, when we started this course, I told you that, ESP is an eclectic approach, okay? And by now, most of you know what is an eclectic approach. So, in eclectic approach, instructors have, uh, they have a flexibility. They have options about the methods, about the theory, about the material, whatever suits to that particular set of students for whom they have developed um, the course or they are teaching. Okay, so most ESP instructors they have an eclectic view of language learning and they aim to develop and apply different learning approaches depending on the needs of different stakeholders and the learning objectives of the course of the programs, the background, expectations of the students, time constraints, all of that. So they have a freedom because they are looking at a lot of things. They are looking at the requirements of the students, the needs of the students, the motivation of the students. They have to develop the learning objectives also. They have to look at the expectations of the learners. Then they have to see their constraints also, for instance, the time constraints or maybe the space constraints. So they are looking at a lot of things. So therefore, um, most of them, and they are allowed to, of course, ESP itself, when we were defining ESP in the first place, we said that it's an eclectic approach. Okay. So there is a lot of freedom. Other than that, what we need to look at, for your homeworks, why when the class, when we go offline, I would like you to read page 84, 85, 86, the general principle of language learning. Okay, first of all, this, and then the sub skills to the main four skills. There are four skills, right? Reading, writing, listening, speaking. So on page number 85 and 86 of your books, there are some sub skills related to the main skills. I would just like you to, just them to reflect on few of these. For instance, the sub skill of reading, we keep on repeating these as identifying main ideas, supporting ideas, looking for example, identifying rhetorical patterns, and then skimming, scanning, selecting. All of these are sub skills of reading. Okay. Then there are some sub skills of writing. We are acquainted or familiar with a few of these. For instance, cohesion and coherence, using of templates. Okay, when you are working with Word or a PPT in Microsoft, you come across a lot of templates. Okay, so selecting the right templates or reaching for the good ones is also some skill of writing right now. Okay. Then presenting main ideas, supporting ideas, um, coherence and cohesion between sentences, paragraphs. I would also like to know about cohesion and coherence, the difference between the two. Um, could someone tell us, please, on the mic because your chat isn't working? Who's telling us the difference between cohesion and coherence? Quickly, guys. Yes, sir. What is the difference between cohesion and coherence? Then we can move to the sub skills. How do I know that you are there in the class and just not switched on your mics or systems or teams and you have gone away? How do I know that? Yes, Mahin, what is the difference between cohesion and coherence? If I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am. So for cohesion, we will say that it's in the structure, like lexical links used to connect sentences or paragraphs. That is cohesion. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
simply we say it's like a glue to connect the whole text together. And for coherence, we say it
Fine.
refers to the overall logical flow, that the thematical flow or conceptual flow in a text,
Okay.
like flow of
Right.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mahin is right. Cohesion is the
Linkage of
connectivity in
text.
terms of grammar. Okay.
Yes.
Connectivity in terms of grammar, and coherence is the connectivity in terms of ideas. Okay. The logical connections as far as the ideas are concerned. While you are writing down anything, both cohesion and coherence is required. Okay. Grammatical links should be correct, and the logical links, linking of ideas should be correct. Okay. This is called this is the difference between cohesion and coherence. And so, and cohesion and coherence are just not part of the written text or written skills, they are also part of your speech. Okay. Then comes some of the sub skills of listening, receptive knowledge of spoken language, deducing the speaker's attitude, identifying, understanding cohesive and discourse markers, identifying ideas, all of that. Okay. Some of the skills are very much similar to sub skills of the other main skills. Then there are sub skills of speaking, adjusting the message through volume, speed, stress, जितने भी आपके phonetics, phonology की चीजें, intonation, silence, using the right vocabulary in your speech, okay, developing fluency, good pronunciation, all of these are the sub skills of your main skill of speaking. You can just go through these, okay. Other than that, uh, what I would like you to do is, if you could open your books to 86, there is a task. I'm really interested that you do these tasks because this is the practical thing about developing the objectives, learning objectives. Now, this task 5.1, formulating learning objectives in EAP and EOP settings. If you could just open your books, I would like you to do this after the class, okay? So you'll be doing a lot of things. It wouldn't be after the class. We will be doing it during the class. The timing is for the class, but it's just that we will not be connected online. So you will be reading 84, 85, 86, skimming through, just look at this, the diagram 5.1 and the tables 5.2. You'll be doing that, and other than that, you will be doing this practical exercise, which tells you to look again at the abstract that appeared in the reflection exercise at the beginning of this chapter. Those who attended the class while we were doing register analysis with an abstract from the field of applied chemistry, okay? We took out some of the jargons that are used in the abstract and that they belong to the register of applied chemistry, right? If you do not remember that, just go to the beginning of this chapter. There's a reflection, and there are four, 5 lines from an abstract um, from some research in applied linguistics. Okay, so you need to look at that, and then using ideas from register analysis, rhetorical analysis, genre analysis, learning, and metacognitive skills that we have done just now. Okay, we have done genre analysis and then theories and then metacognitive skills. So uh, the rest of it you may revise, register analysis, rhetorical analysis, and then what you are going to do is you're going to formulate some learning objectives. What learning objectives would you include in the EAP lesson that was designed to help learners to be able to write abstract that summarize their own findings, list your thought. Okay, so there are two activities, but we would be doing just one. You are going to practice, basically, are going to practice how to develop and how to write down the learning objectives. Okay, through three kinds of analysis. One kind of analysis we actually practiced in the class through that abstract. I hope you know you can connect and you can relate to what I'm talking about if you were present that day. Now, what you are going to do, you are going to go back to that the initial pages of this chapter, go to the reflection, look back at the abstract from the field of applied chemistry, look at it from the three kinds of analysis that we have studied, also the skills, if you need to apply those or the learning theories, and then uh, what would be the objective? Okay, let me rephrase the exercise or what you are going to do as a class activity right now. You have to develop objectives for the students of applied chemistry who are there in your class to learn how to write down an abstract of a research article or a thesis. Okay, I hope the question is now clear. I'm just repeating the question. You're supposed to write down objectives, just two. Okay, write down two objectives for your students of ESP who are in your class to learn how to write down an abstract for a research article or a thesis. Okay. Uh, for doing that, you have to go back to the abstract already given in the reflection section of this chapter. Look at it through the three kinds of analysis that you learn: register analysis, rhetorical analysis, and the genre analysis. Try to apply your knowledge and develop two objectives. Okay. Now, raise your hands if you have understood what you're supposed to do in the class activity. Quickly raise your hands, guys. Okay, Maheen, right. Some of the hands are raised from the beginning of the class. I don't know for what. Okay, Khadija has raised her hand 6 times. I don't know why. Tayyaba has raised her hand twice. Is it clear? Is the class activity clear to you?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, it's good that Mahin keeps on giving me the feedback. I know that someone is alive here. But what about the rest of you? Are you there in the class, or you just have connected to Teams and left? Is everyone there? Okay. Okay, guys, I stopped the recording here because I have given the lecture and I have also given you the class activity.